Okay, next question. I'll start over here with Kim. What is your view on the opting out of zoning for recreational marijuana and why? What is your view on the opting out of zoning for recreational marijuana and why?
Well, it's going on a year approximately since it was passed, and I was actually surprised that in the UP that more people didn't jump on to get involved with the Marijuana Act. I think people were scared. I don't think they knew what we're doing and how we're gonna go forward, and I think they're waiting on the state to see what's going on. As we move forward, it's a possibility for a new revenue for our area, but as I listen to citizens, there's concern, how are transactions going to be monitored? I'm kind of worried about the smell here and there. So I think, Ironwood, when we take a look at moving forward on this, and I think it's something that we should do in the near future, is to make sure that we do it right, that we have our ordinances set up in place and make sure that they're enforceable and strict. And I think that'll be a good part of moving forward with this, is that they have the ordinances in place, have what you can and cannot do, have where you can and cannot do it, so there's a clear understanding of what is in place. And we've listened to the people. The concerns are probably the smell and the location, and I know that there's been a group of concerned citizens, whether they're part of the city, part of that are pro, part of against, some that are business owners. So there's a wide range of people on this strategy for moving forward with it. But I think if we're going to do it and we pull the trigger, that we do it right and we have regulations in place that can be enforced. Thank you.
I've been working on the city-appointed committee to study this issue, and I like to joke that I don't read. My favorite thing to read is fiction, and I have not read anything about except for marijuana and cannabis and stuff about our water too, because these are important issues. So the point being is I'm trying to become really well informed and by learning and studying as much as I can. We've opted out now, I think, until mid-January, roughly, and at which time whoever's elected on the commission will review this issue again. And that's one of the reasons I've chosen to rerun for commission, because I have spent well over a year reading volumes and speaking to many people and trying to learn about this topic. I have painstakingly read the 56 pages of emergency rules that the state, the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs has put out, both for medical and recreational, which is now called adult use. I think that we'll revisit this. Of the current 6 types of businesses that could be allowed commercially, which is various growing operations, processing, the selling, secure transport, testing, and micro businesses. I think personally that we need to look at each one separately and then determine, have the commission determine which would be the potentially best fit our community. There is not a lot of money in this, as if anybody watched 60 Minutes last night as they reviewed the California situation. There's been the commercial, legal entities are not making money, but there's a huge increase in the black market. So it's evolving. I personally wish that the federal government would, I'm very passionate about this topic, sorry. I think the federal government should look at it equally, legally, and we have to be particularly careful because we are a border city and it's a short-term gold rush opportunity until it becomes legal in Wisconsin and Minnesota. So we need to protect our city, but look at it rationally. I think people should legally be able to purchase because it's legal in the state of Michigan, tested, safe product, etc. But I'm not sure, but I think this commission will look at it further in the new year. Thank you, sorry.
I was joking with somebody the other day because I'm born on 420, so they assume automatically I'm all for marijuana. And even though it just became a popular term a few years ago. But marijuana is already here. we can smell it, we see it, we know people that do it, so it's not going away, it's here. And the state finally, at the beginning of, actually the beginning of this month, finally came out with how they're gonna, the laws that are coming together, and this committee is coming up with what licenses. There are different ways the city could profit from marijuana. In fact, the state will charge you up to $6,000 to get a license just for various establishment, however you want to do your marijuana, whether it's a dispensary or a marijuana lounge even. But the city can also charge up to $5,000 for a city license for that, so the city can profit off of the different businesses that come in from that. Then there's also revenue that comes in through different taxes. If it's retail, there's actually 10 different little licenses that people can apply for if it's opted into the city. So it's still a sort of a gray area of which ones can be acceptable, which ones will be taken, but it's already here, it's not gonna go away, so I believe we should support it and regulate it, but make sure it's done right, and people are gonna pay the money and we make money off it, maybe that also will help. But we also have to make sure we put it in the right spots in the city. We can't have it spread out all over the place, because not everybody likes the smell, some people don't like what's going on with it, and right now it seems that nobody really knows what's going on. And people are upset. Then the people that want marijuana assume that everything is okay. Why are we not allowed legally to buy it? Well, there's still some little things that have to go through. But if licenses are granted, the city can make money off of certain licenses. So that's very important to remember that. But it's also very important that the city handles it with care and it adopts it actually into our whole downtown plan or our whole city plan. Because the plans that were written before, comprehensive plans, have totally changed with the legalization of marijuana.
Well, as Mayor Burchell said, for about the past 11 months or so, the mayor and I are on the ad hoc committee that is designing an ordinance for recreational marijuana in Ironwood. Whether this ordinance will pass or not is totally a political thing, and I have no idea how the commission at the time will vote, but we are working really hard to design an ordinance that protects our city as well as much as it can and allows for the growing and selling of recreational marijuana here. As I said, I don't know how the commission will end up voting. The law will be, the ordinance that we're working on will probably be put out to the planning commission within the next month or so, and I think people are going to get their first look at it. But I'm going to tell you that it's cautious. It's a cautious ordinance. It really restricts the number of businesses that can be, where they would be, where growing would be allowed, and so forth. So we're trying to design an ordinance that would protect the citizens, protect the town, but allow the commercial selling and growing of this product. It's already here, it's already legal, it's not going away. And something that really complicates the landscape in Ironwood is the medical marijuana law, which allows people to grow in a building with no opportunity to come in and check out what they're doing. Public safety simply cannot knock on someone's door and say, we think you're growing marijuana, we want to come in and look, because the medical marijuana law just does not allow us to do that. So hopefully the more regulated version will allow us to have a better control over this, because the odor is a terrible problem. The people are buying up businesses, from what I understand, this is all hearsay, but it is a real problem in our area, and anything that we can do to get more control over it is only a good thing. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think the jury's still out on if this is good for our town or bad for our town. I know that in our first public hearing on it, I wrote down the comments that people made, and if I remember right, there was 104 comments for it, and there was 4 or 5 comments against it. And then I know that when I'm at different venues around this city, and I'm with people that have lived here all their life, particularly seniors, they're not very happy with any of this. So the state of Michigan fast-tracked the legalization of marijuana, and it's here. And then you know, they talk to all of us and they say, okay, so you have to come up with ordinances allowing recreational marijuana or not allowing it. And I think they've changed that now, because I think the word recreational marijuana is, it's like, it connotes, it stands for something like it's really fun. And I'm not sure, it's more of an adult use thing, and I like when it's called adult sales. I don't think that there is going to be anything that any Michigan community can do to slow the use of marijuana. So we might as well accept it, and then we might as well be cautious and promote regulations that protect as many people as possible and still allow adult use of marijuana. Thank you.
Well, on the topic of marijuana, I believe it'll be a benefit in the area because it'll bring jobs, employment, and we could see that it has many municipal purposes, many of which would be as the same as CBD oil. It could help Alzheimer's, dementia, and other things like this. Thank you.
Thank you. As far as cannabis goes, there's a lot of potential there. Potential for abuse, potential for benefit. There's the opportunity to reduce our tax burden. Wow, that's more money in people's pockets, not the city governments. But, you know, it's one of those things. I'd like to see it improve the quality of life here. That's all I want. Thank you.
Our next question that is coming up now is, how can the city work with Googevik Community College and the public K-12 schools to increase activities for students? And Annette starts this time.
Sorry, I just don't have any great ideas on this question. To increase activities for students. Well, we have, in our First Friday efforts as, not the city, but the Ironwood Theater offers a free film screening for youth. But a lot of it, the students need to know about these opportunities and activities for the region. At the same time, like the Downtown Art Place offers sometimes free art activities and reaches out to Googevik Community College and the Ironwood Area School and the teachers. So there's a lot of private groups that do reach out to the college and the Ironwood Area schools within the community. I know that I've been invited for the last few years to speak to the Ironwood juniors, the government students, to talk to them about local government, and I've always enjoyed doing that. And when I speak to them, it's kind of interesting to listen to their perspectives and to what they would like to see in Ironwood. I always do. A couple of years ago, they really wanted a Taco Bell and a KFC. So we do listen, and I let them know that none of them knew about First Friday, so I think we could do a better job of reaching out with whatever social media that young people use, because I don't know that it's Facebook anymore and the stuff that some of us older people use. So we need to do a better job communicating with the social media outlets and reaching those young people. Thank you.
Our youth are constantly changing, just like we do. I mean, there's things that I remember as a teenager that my youngest son is 10. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what a Walkman is. He looks at certain things, and when I tell him about when I play Pong, he laughs at me when he plays his video games. I gave him a Hardy Boy book and said, please read it and tell me what you think. And he showed me a YouTube video, and I said, what are you doing on YouTube? Read the Hardy Boys. He goes, I'm not going to read that. So we have to adapt sometimes with how we have programs for our youth and how to reach out through sports and through education. And kids sometimes are learning too fast in certain areas, so we need to do that. We need to support our schools, our booster clubs for our school. I've noticed, and I'll just say it right here, at least a few years ago, I was shocked when I first came to Hurley. My wife and I wanted to be involved with the Ironwood Booster Club, and the Hurley Booster Club was more like just on fire. Even now, you just see it, it's not big for the Ironwood. We need more parents involved too, because if our parents, if I'm not, even if my son doesn't want to read the Hardywood book, at least he knows I read. Even if he doesn't like saying the rosary, he knows I do it every day. So we have to get our kids involved. And our college, this is our big college. We're sitting in it right now, Gilby Community College. We got to support it. We got to make sure it stays vibrant. We got to make sure students keep coming. And every kid that graduates from high school needs to realize that even if you can't afford to go to Northern or Michigan Tech or maybe USC, here's a place for you, and continue to support the education that we have, but also have people. We need to appoint people perhaps that know, that are skilled in these certain aspects to be able to follow through with some of this. But our kids and our youth are constantly changing, and we're losing our kids sometimes. So yes, education and supporting with the city is very important. Maybe we need to have a meet the commissioner day at the high school. Every one of the commissioners can go in there, and just tell them what you do and why it's important to vote. I mean, it is important.
So the mission of the city is to take care of the infrastructure of the town, plow the streets. And where does this mission intersect with the mission of the schools? Which is to educate kids. And really, in my mind, not a whole lot of overlap there, except maybe in the area of parks and playgrounds. And the city right now works with the school in the Miners Park. We have an agreement with them that we can have trails on the school property with permanent easements and can develop it any way that we feel that we need to. We help the school by grooming a ski trail out on the track for the kids in the wintertime. Another way that the school and the city have worked together is at the Depot Park, where we have the summer meals program. The overlap isn't huge, but there are places where it does happen. Safe Routes to School a few years ago, we got about $400,000 to build sidewalks, improve the access to the school for kids who are walking. So this is how the city can interface with the school. Thank you.
Yeah, the partnerships can be built up, that's definitely for sure. I know that the city of Ironwood with the Depot Park and the Eat Up and Meet Up where the students, the grade school students can eat free lunch all summer long is a wonderful program. And it puts people in our downtown. So you not only have the 100 children that are eating there, but you have the parents that drop them off and pick them up. So that's an example of something that works for our business community, works for our city of Ironwood, and works for the Ironwood area schools. As a Kiwanian, we pay all of the fees so that we sponsor a key club. And that key club, the students in the key club mirror our activities. So when we have a fundraiser, they have a fundraiser. When we decide to donate money to a good cause, they pick out their good causes. And Ironwood Kiwanis is generally made up of business people. And so when they lunch with us, we mentor them. So I love those kinds of going back and forth. And yeah, there would be something else to explore. Trying to think of. Santa's headquarters, we use 4 youth groups and involve 100 children every Christmas to help us, so thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I believe that we should expand upon the GCC in the K-12, but not just them, include NMU, Northern Michigan, Northern College, and develop business opportunities for this area. The college has an audiovisual department, and I don't know if we could technically use it. Well, we would have to ask for permission to use their audiovisual equipment. about bringing job opportunities in here for business development. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got 2 kids currently enrolled in the Ironwood area schools. My oldest daughter turns 13 tomorrow. My youngest daughter's in 1st grade. One of the things that I think we can do to kind of bring things closer together amongst our school community is a couple more summer activity options for kids, because the more kids do, the more active they are, the more active and later they are going to be in life. More PTO support. I think we could probably do a couple of fundraisers to kind of help them out and reduce their costs. So those are my ideas.
I like the idea of engagement with the college or their K through 12 group. I think engagement with the commission can increase ownership. I know like a while back, 10 years ago maybe, when I was on the commission, we actually held a city commission meeting in Ironwood High School. So maybe that's something that we can revisit, you know, go to the government class and have a meeting there once or twice a year, or come to the college government class, have a meeting once or twice a year, and have they're the audience. They can ask questions, they can have the open forum part of it. I do like the idea, maybe involve workshops, have workshops at the school. You know, we need to work on our sidewalks. What do you think about our sidewalks? Where do you want to see our sidewalks? Or playgrounds, you guys, you know, what are you interested in when you see a playground? What do you want to do? What kind of activities do you have? So engage them, you know, start the conversation, be on their turf, go to the school, go to the college. I know when I was on the Michigan Municipal League Board, one of the cities downstate had kind of an initiative caught doing something good. So if you saw a kid, maybe he was cleaning up, maybe around the skateboard park, you had a T-shirt or a bumper sticker that you could give them and say, hey, I saw you doing something good, whether it's picking up trash or going the extra mile or being kind or something like that. So maybe you see these little T-shirts or bumper stickers around the area and you kind of get motivated to do more and have more of a buy-in. I like the idea of tours with the commission and the students. The Ironwood Theater and the DAP are amazing. The journey that they've come through in the last 10 years is fantastic. And probably a lot of people don't know the journey that they've had, but maybe invite them to come to a tour with us and see how they got to where they are from like 10 years ago. And maybe one last thing is hire a few more student workers.
Our next question, I'll start here with Dan, is how can we better enforce the zoning laws already in place to reduce blight in our city?
Just because we don't see blight sometimes doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So yes, it's very important to enforce those laws and do more inspections and keep track of blight. But also, when we had our fall cleanup day just a couple weeks ago, it might have been a good idea, but some of the folks don't have trucks or trailers. They can't take all that stuff to the dump or to the special drop-off, so they have to stick it somewhere. And so it just piles up and piles up. Maybe there should be something where we have it on the curbs. But blight needs to be inspected far more, because it's in the neighborhoods, it's deep. Oh, even downtown, if you really look close, there's a lot of places. Yesterday at the commission meeting, they talked about ports of entry into downtown, like Douglas Avenue and so on. What about McLeod Avenue? I know a lot of people that go down McLeod Avenue to get downtown, and there's certain stretches of McLeod that's not the greatest looking. There's certain stretches of our city all around that's not the greatest looking. I live on McLeod, so don't say I'm bashing McLeod people. But there's a lot of places that blight needs to be enforced. We can do a far better job, because when people do come to look at our city, they look at all of it, and they start driving to the neighborhoods, and they start seeing things, they're like, wow, what's going on? And somebody asked me, one area was Appalachia, and I said, no, this is not Iron Tucky, this is Ironwood. But, I mean, we need to do a better job of doing that, because our property values go down. If you have a house next to you that's in bad shape, that the people keep trash, it keeps going on, yes. Now, what about our homeowners that can't afford to do a lot of fix-up? There's different programs, but we need to do a better job of our blight, because people look at the surface. They look at the surface, and if they don't like what they see, they just don't think we care as a city. So we need to make the effort to show we care.
People, blight is a hot topic issue, of course, and we have torn down over 160 houses in Ironwood since I've been on the commission. This is a really big number. But when you tear a house down and now there's an empty lot there, a vacant lot, you don't remember what was there. So your perception is that things are not improving, but they really are. There are two kinds of blight. There's active blight where people build up garbage in their yard. I find this intolerable. And I really believe that our blight officer, our city staff is doing what they can to curb this. There's another kind of blight that I call passive blight. Your house, you don't have a lot of money, you just can't put new siding on your house, the paint is peeling. The town that we live in, we have to live with that to the point that we can. You cannot force people to make repairs they can't afford. But when it comes to active blight, people creating junk piles, get rid of it, or you will get, the city staff will come in and haul it away and you will get penalized. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I have no tolerance for blight also. A number of people have called me up and I've made it a priority and went and talked to city staff, and city staff has responded correctly. And the process itself though takes a little too long. But with government there has to be a process. So I know that people are warned. They're told that eventually they're going to receive a bill from the city for cleaning this up. They drag their feet. But I have no tolerance for blight. I have compassion for people that can't afford to paint their house. I have compassion for people that the windows might not look as good as they could or something like that. But anything that cars sitting there, junk cars, garbage, household garbage, when it's reported to me, I report it to the city, and to my knowledge, they've always acted on it. Thank you.
On Blythe, I believe that the city should start a program setting aside a maximum of $50,000 to start buying one of these properties, talk to the building trades section here at the college, and get these houses, in shape where they're sellable. Thank you.
I am not really a fan of blight either. I don't really like garbage on the sides of the road, in the streets or anything. I think we should have more cleanup days and kind of work to help people get their properties back in better looking condition. Thank you.
Blight is a big topic. But we've cleaned up a lot of houses and a lot of properties, but we can always do more. The process, some folks will say this property is horrible, but there's steps 1, steps 2, step 3, and it takes a while. I wish we could move faster and get rid of blight quicker. Maybe some things that we could do is, have people aware of some of the cleanup options. I do like the idea of the cleanups. We run them twice a year, and every spring and fall we have over 100 people with truckloads of debris from their garages, yards, and basements. And they're very, very happy to, this is awesome. They just celebrate that. So maybe more cleanups can be involved, or take a look at working with some of our groups in the area that can help the folks that aren't really able to get to their yard to clean up some of the things that have accumulated out there. So adopt different areas, or maybe even include it as part of our committees, because I do take a look as simple things, like maybe with a DIDA they could include just even pulling the weeds around some of the businesses and buildings downtown. That's a small step, and it means a lot to what the presentation of the downtown looks like, and it's something easy that we could do, make the business owners or have the group or the committee be a part of that, and we just take ownership and just little steps that we can do to make our town a little bit nicer.
Great ideas from everybody. Just reminding everybody, as was mentioned, we are sadly a poor community. 75% of our youth are in the poverty level that we receive free or reduced lunches. Not to say that poor families contribute to blight, but poor families can't afford, as has been mentioned, to make their property a little more appealing, perhaps. The trash issue and blight issue is a whole nother issue, and as has been mentioned, the city has a process for managing that. I've expressed concern the last few years. We've been lucky enough to get blight funds from the state, I believe, to take down, as Commissioner Semo mentioned, over 150 homes. But that's costly. When we approve demolitions, it's often between $10,000 to $15,000 per property, and the city does budget every year a little bit as well to manage blighted homes. But again, it's just costly, and we have this abundance of old mining homes and a diminishing population, etc., which is a concern, and goes back to trying to improve your community so that you can get more people to come and purchase our homes and revitalize them. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
How do you see your role in the community regarding overall city goals and criticism from community members? How do you see your role in the community regarding the overall city goals and criticism from community members?
How do I see myself in these overall city goals? We are tasked with setting the goals for the city. We are elected by the residents of the city to represent them, and our job is to give the city direction. Every year we have a goal-setting session. We make a huge list of goals and we rank them, and then we select our top goals. And during budgeting, it's very reassuring to hear city staff mention over and over again, well, blight was one of your top goals and that's why we budgeted this. The city staff takes into account the goals that we set when they do the budgeting. As far as criticism goes, anybody here like to be criticized? It's no fun, believe me. The key there is to listen and pick out the truths and not take the criticism personally and try to understand what it is that people are trying to tell you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do it every
I
time.
know, and I take it every time, right? Right, so the goal setting exercise in the city of Ironwood is a wonderful exercise, because it makes you focus on how much money is available and what are our top projects, and our top projects, thank God we prioritize them, because could you see this town? They said, the people from the state of Michigan came in and said that water infrastructure hadn't been worked on for 40 years. Streets hadn't been worked on for 40 years. The one thing that our community did do was kept our beautiful memorial building up. But over the last 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is, okay, so in the goal setting process, the streets were number one, okay? The streets were number one. And now, if that process hadn't taken place, and we had done everything wrong in its entirety, we would have no place to go. But the streets are good right now. The streets are great. On the phaser system, everything is good, better, best, okay? So the next thing that came up this year was the water flushing the lines, and the people that experience dirty water for longer than some of the other people experienced it. So now we're moving forward and we're looking at an aeration to improve our water quality once again. So you look at the amount of money you have available, and you do something every year and you reduce the size of the list. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we should set our goals and ask for more public input than rather just the 5 city commissioners and the city management group there at the memorial building. As for criticism, I'm welcome to any criticism. I welcome it. I don't take it personally, but I think we can get a better feel for what everybody wants by open criticism. If you can't take criticism, there's no use even thinking about any other possibilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see myself as a person who will look to empower others to get them to be more active in the community. I'm okay with criticism. I've been criticized before. I'll be criticized again. Everybody gets criticized.
Our role in the city commission is to listen to what the people say when we establish our goals and try to determine what we can afford and how we can do it to the best of our ability. But it's also being educators. I think back like a couple of years ago, folks were saying we need roads, so we threw it on a millage and it failed. All right, we really needed to do roads. So I think the year after said we need to try for roads again, but let's present it in a different way. The millage for the memorial building is falling off. Your taxes aren't going to change. You're going to pay the same amount of money, but now you're getting an extra 40 miles of roads done. So educating people on how the money is going to be spent, what you're going to get for your money, and kind of bang for your buck. And criticism too, nobody likes to be criticized, but it kind of makes you look inside to see what kind of options are there. Are they right? Do they have a valid point? And sometimes even too, it's just a matter of educating folks. Again, like we've been criticized, like, why are you spending money on plants and banners and things like that when we have bad roads? But then when you explain, we have a large grant and we only had a little bit of input, and we were actually able to leverage a grant against a grant to get more money. So with a little bit of input of cash flow, we were able to secure tons of money. But sometimes these grants dictate what we can spend money on. So it's just a matter of educating people and telling people, but also taking into their concerns and what they're talking about, and maybe look at things in a different perspective or a different direction.
Yeah, I would agree that communication is important. As elected officials, we represent the people. And yeah, we are 5 people, but I'm particularly conscious of the fact that, I mean, ultimately I always have to vote with my gut and my heart, right? Because I just have to. But I'm very conscious of the fact that I represent a portion of the community. So we have to be really, I think we could do a better job at reaching out to the community and listening to their input on various topics, certainly on the commission goals, and what are priorities. I know I personally do talk in the community to a lot of people and listen to their concerns, and just continue doing that. With respect to criticism, thank goodness I'm like a lot older, because even maybe 15, 20 years ago, I don't think I could be strong enough to endure sometimes the public criticism. But I recognize that every person has a right to criticize and to express their opinion to elected officials. It's one of the tenets and the beauty of America, the freedom of speech. Sometimes I struggle with the lack of civility and respect, because I always say I try to treat you with respect. I would love to be treated with equal respect back, always listening to your concerns. So that has been a challenge sometimes, but it's just part of the role. Thank you.
It's very important to listen to the people. And in fact, interesting in Ironwood, the voters are the people. We are all, every one of us are voters. But I want to listen to what the people want, what they have to say, and then also give some input and not ignore them and not disrespect them. And even if I get disrespected, and that happens a lot. I mean, constructive criticism is something I have to expect, or anybody that's elected, no matter who they are, you have to expect it, because voters, they want answers. And you know, even if we're a commissioner, or as commissioners can tell you, they're going to go after the congressmen, the senators above them when they want something. So that's constructive criticism. But we have to be open to that. But I hope to avoid that, getting to that point where it's almost like people with pitchforks coming in wanting answers. There should be some civility. And I want to be more visible myself. I want to be able to listen to people and talk to people. And hopefully when I vote in the conscience of what the people want. Because not everybody that's a citizen or a resident of Ironwood has the ability to sit with 5 people in the commission and make decisions. And those decisions about the water in the future, those decisions about the marijuana, many decisions about the downtown, all that stuff is coming up. That's why we have an election in a week. So that's why the voters can give their constructive criticism at the ballot box.
I did.
You're next. Jim is next. We have 2 more questions and then 1 minute sum up for the candidates. The next and last question is, how do you see the city of Ironwood moving forward to address ongoing water issues?
I mentioned that previously. Currently, we're receiving presentations by firms on how the sediment in the water could be relieved, and you know, it's aeration, that's what everyone has said. One of the things about our water, though, that I have to bring to everyone's attention is that when we have gone through this process, the people that experience dirty water, I felt so darn sorry for them. And we had to bring in all of the experts. Now, one of the things that came out of this, thank God, is that with the help of the health department and with the help of all of the testing, I guess probably 550 tests a year, the water quality is good, okay? And the water is safe, okay? So the water quality after a flushing, then that's debatable. So we're going to move forward on that. And then depending, you know, as you set priorities, okay? So there's more infrastructure work that needs to be done. There's infrastructure work with certain areas of our town. There's infrastructure work at the pump station, and then there's infrastructure work with aeration. Now, will we be able to afford all of that at once, or will we do that step by step? I think it'll be step by step, but the priority will be which one comes first, which second, which third. Thank you.
Thank you. Concerning the water issue, I'm just using base numbers. Say the water treatment plant costs $1 million a year. Right now, we have currently 2,750 water customers. So if you take the $1 million and divide it by 20 years, that's $50,000 a year. And if you divide that by the 2,750 customers, that means our water bill is going to increase by $1.52 each month on your water and sewer bill. This is per million. Now, I talked to Mr. Turbinen this week, and he says the plant is going to cost $8 million. So at that total, it will cost the taxpayers $12.2 a month. Now, the city commission during I think it was September 23, and last night voted to go for the City Square project. Right now, there is roughly $1,020,723 and I think 94 cents in the general fund, which they allocated for the City Square project. I believe we should take that entire $1,020,000 and spend it towards the water treatment cost plan to reduce the cost of the taxpayer. Thank you.
Currently, I expend a lot of energy going and filling up water jugs. When we don't fill up water jugs, we end up spending money either at Walmart or Super One buying jugs of water. It's a financial burden, it's an energy burden. It's something that needs to be dealt with because we're not the only ones dealing with this. Each and every person in Ironwood is dealing with the water issue in one way, shape, or form. Whether it's from laundry, losing clothes, to dishes. Something needs to be done.
Well, I don't know if there's a simple answer for the water issues, and I'm not 100% sure if our issues are part of our new water and sewer projects that we've done. But the things that we've tried to do to help our citizens is a flushing strategy. We need to, maybe notify citizens door to door, over the radio, on the internet, in the newspaper, so they're aware of flushing, because when the flushing occurs, that's where a lot of the discoloration and water color turns up. We've worked with state agencies. I think we've done a good job over the last month or so to check the wellness of our water. And we've taken the actions of cleaning the holding areas to make sure that the debris from those areas are not contaminating our water. But I don't think that there's a cheap, easy fix. As we look forward to, like at our commission meeting, we had talked about a filtration system. That would probably be the best bet as far as trying to solve our problems. I don't know what all the answers are, but a filtration system comes with a price, so we'd have to take a good look at how we're going to be able to fund this, how long can we stretch it out, what are the qualifications, what do we need. Those are just a few things that the city has done to try to address the water issue. I said I don't know if there's a cheap, easy way to do it, but at least keeping our citizens notified is one easy step with the flushing. So, and keep them abreast of what we are doing as far as like the cleaning and whatnot. So, thank you.
So as was mentioned earlier this week, the city will be interviewing two engineering firms from out of the area to do a preliminary engineering study for our water system. And we've learned something with the Citizens United for the water. They brought this issue to the forefront, and I personally learned a great deal about manganese and iron in a water supply, and it's good to know that after the state testing was completed, that those elements are secondary concerns in terms from an EPA standard, but still a concern. And I was not aware of manganese particularly before this whole exercise. So we're learning and we're reacting to it, and I'm participating in that review and learning that as we study this, we will not only look at that issue, but also look at our other processes, for instance, chlorination. I've learned that in past years, the former Department of Environmental Quality, now it's called EGLE, I believe, but the former one required us to install new wells, and that's when the new water source had higher levels of manganese and iron. And anyway, we are learning, we are following through with this process. Of course, nothing is free in this world, and we will have to make decisions, and but keeping in mind that the health, a good water source for a community, I think, is a very basic necessity, very important for everyone. So we are addressing this. It will take some time. Thank you.
The water issue obviously is one of the forefront issues in this whole year. What's going to happen is, obviously, after the next election, in 2 weeks, there's going to be another commission meeting, and perhaps new commissioners, perhaps the same commissioners, and then we'll have more answers on the water. At this point, we're, as it's been said, they're waiting on bids from engineering firms. But what I would suggest, in fact, what I would do if I was elected, would be one of the commissioners, he or she, at least take upon the task of being the water spokesperson for the commission, to at least address the public, give some ideas, sit in perhaps with the city manager, learn some of these things, so that we have more answers. I'm not going to sit in a meeting and just vote for something without knowing some of the details. We've had assistance from Virginia Tech, we've had the EGLE, the DEQ, we've had all different things, and this is all fine and good, and maybe there is a solution in the future. How much is it going to cost? I don't want to be in the commission meeting if I'm a commissioner and expect us to vote on something without knowing how it went. And I want the people that have worked so hard over this water issue to at least understand that somebody should be a point person. I know that may be extra work for any commissioner, even if it was myself, but the point is, it is fair to the people to at least have one person, so we don't have everybody answering all the questions. At least one person can report back to the commission and say, hey, this is what we're going forward on. Because how much is fixing our water system really going to cost? We won't know. We won't know until after the election. So at least if we have somebody that's the person that's going to be responsible, we need to know some of these things. The water is bad. It's got to be fixed. I had somebody say, I'm not moving to Ironwood until the water is fixed. Now, my house, my water, to be honest, has never really been that bad except on certain times. But there are people that have bad water, and it's not fair, because I have good water. I could care less if somebody else has bad water. it's a city problem. We've had media coverage, we've had all kinds of news and stuff, so everybody knows about Ironwood's water. They've compared us to Flint, and maybe that's draconian, but the point is, they've compared us to that. So yes, we need to do something, and maybe to avoid confusion in the future, one commissioner at least could be a special spokesperson to explore the water issue, to report at the commission meetings back to the people, to at least so the people understand somebody's really taking attention, and the whole commission as a whole is taking a clear attention at this.
So this entire issue with water has been really eye-opening for me. In the 10 years I've been on, I knew that we had manganese in our water. I'd asked the city manager why our water turned brown when we were flushed, and he would say because there's manganese in it. Oh, okay, and that's why we flush. It flushes the pipes out and it removes the manganese. And as some others have said, their water isn't particularly bad. And that was my take on our water. And now, with all of the publicity and the input that we've received, it's clearly a much bigger issue than I had perceived. So we are proceeding with hiring the engineering firm, and then we will get real numbers. And then we're going to find out what it's going to cost us, and then we're going to have to figure out how to pay for it. But it seems pretty clear that a filtration plant is the solution that we have to strive to achieve. Thank you.
Well, we've reached the wind-up end here, and the last question that was submitted relates to our ending point. The last question was, why do you think you'll be successful in this position? And so we will use that last question as our closing. As you make your final statement to our citizens here, not only why do you think you would be successful, but really, why should they vote for you? And the person to start on this actually turns out to be Bill.
And we're gonna give a minute and a half still.
Yes, and we'll give you a minute and a half to, this will be your closing statement about both. Thank you.
Could you repeat the question again?
It's a combination of why do you think you will be successful in the position of city commissioner, which also of course relates to why do you want to be a city commissioner?
Thank you. Now, I love working with people. I've lived here most of my life for 58 years and moved away for about 13 in Minneapolis and Iowa. So I listen to all sides of the issue. I don't pick sides, but eventually I'll have to. So I would like to say at this time that I don't know what's the possibility of advertising at the ski hills to bring some of those people into town on the First Friday events. All it would require is a couple signs out there at each of the ski hills. Maybe we'll bring some more money to the Ironwood downtown area and businesses. And that's about all I have to say. Oh, one other thing. My house was built before 1986, so my personal problem with your water issue is I have high lead levels. So if your house was built before 1986, you might have a lead problem with your plumbing if you did not change out to the new solder-free solder. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll be successful in this position because I'm an outgoing people person. Originally, we moved here in '06 from downstate, much more populous area with quite a bit more problems. We love it up here. There's the school system. I've got 2 kids in the school system. My wife and I both work. I work 2 jobs in the city of Ironwood. She works in the city of Ironwood. You know, this is where our interests are. Thank you.
We'll just remind people to get out and vote next week. There's not a lot on the ballot except for maybe the commission, so your vote does matter. I think I will be successful. I encourage you to vote. I have experience. I've been on the commission now for over 10 years and served on multiple of different boards. communication. I'm willing to listen to others and hear their concerns, and I'm also willing to share like information on, hey, this is why we're doing this and this is why we're doing that. When topics come up, I'm willing to take a look at, why is this happening? Or talk to people, what kind of information do you have on this? Or what are options? And I believe I'm an honest person, that I have the courage to disagree with what's going on, or I have the ability to make difficult choices. I tend to say what I believe, whether it's for the best or not, but I'm willing to make the best decision and have the courage to disagree. But I think most of all is that I'm passionate about Ironwood. I love Ironwood. I really, really love the Four Seasons. I love where I live. I love just talking about it. So when people say, why Ironwood? I'm like, I'm willing to sell it. It's like, what are you passionate about? What do you like? You like the outdoors? Do you like the history? Do you like this? It's like, I'm like, this is Ironwood. Let me help you find your north. So, thank you.
I personally don't view it as me being successful, because serving on city commission, I'm only one of 5 votes. And so in order for the city to be successful, we have to build consensus, and we have to pass initiatives as a majority. I think I can contribute by my hard work ethic and my ability to listen. I think I can improve by getting out more, and I'm pretty busy, but would make an effort to get out more and speak to even more people and listen more. But I think that we need to continue working together. Again, I agree. I personally love living in Ironwood, and I know we have challenges, and I'm also often faced by other people by the realities of our higher taxes, etc. But why do people live here? Imagine living here if the city of Ironwood was not here, along with our neighboring communities. But what the city of Ironwood offers. I know that's a little bit dreamy, but truly, I personally love the presence of our Ironwood Carnegie Library, the oldest Carnegie in the whole state of Michigan, the Ironwood Theater, our beautiful little downtown that's really perking up, the Civic Center, other fabulous, our retail area, our shopping. I mean, sure, a lot of us sometimes go to the area for certain things that we can't get here. However, we have so many things in the city of Ironwood that I can't imagine living here without the city of Ironwood's presence here. And we need to tackle some of the issues. We have been tackling the issues. There's so many things that we can't do it all at once, but we can work together to take small steps forward. It takes time, but we can do it working together and with a positive attitude. Thank you.
Well, mathematically, out of the 5 commissioners and out of the 9 people running, obviously some of our commissioners, if not all, will be reelected. So the point is, I want to say, first of all, that I can work with anybody. I love people, I like people, I can work with everybody. These are our neighbors, these are our friends. We're all neighbors and friends. This is not like Washington where we can't reach across the aisle. I want to bring a different voice of the people to the city, and also be involved in the sense of listening to the people, being active, being out and about, talking to people, because I'm a people person, and just in this election as I've been running, just talking to people in general, because I like talking to people. 2 of the biggest issues is water and marijuana. So if the voters are concerned about either or, the 5 are running for re-election, so that means it's in their hands. It doesn't matter if you don't vote, it's in their hands. Whatever happens, happens. And whatever continues to happen, happens. But I believe every few years a change should happen in any city commission or any organization. 1 or 2 new voices at the table is not going to hurt the progress. I believe in new progress, I believe in new vision, especially as we see newer people we're trying to lure from out of the area, out of the town, out of the state, to move to this area, to locate with businesses. So we need to be able to reach out to them and be able to connect with them. So they need to see some progress. So there's nothing wrong with making a little bit of change in our city and making a different direction or continuing with a new light. And that's what I'd like to do. I don't come in there, I'm not going to be a bull in the china shop to come in the city commission and do all kinds of yelling and trying to change a bunch of stuff, but I'm also not gonna be a rubber stamp or a robot just to go along with everything. I'm gonna ask questions, I'm gonna do some research, and if I don't know something, and you can prove this, you'll find this true, if I don't know something and a motion is made to vote on something, I may vote no, not because I'm against it, because I don't know enough about it, because it wasn't represented to me in a timely fashion. I want to know what I'm voting on, and I want to understand. And if we do have marijuana in the city, I want it to be done right, and so everybody benefits from it. And I want our water fixed, but I also want to know the cost. There's so many different things, and that's what I'd like to do. So I appreciate your support.
Well, if I could just bottle what Annette and Kim both said. I love Ironwood too. I've lived here most of my life. I love the outdoors. I hunt, fish, ski, all the things that people love to do here. The beauty here is unmatched. The UP is a special place and Ironwood is part of it. I care about the people here. I want us to have the best Ironwood that we can have. I have a really analytical mind, and I like to look at problems and figure out how they can be solved, and that's what I feel like I bring to the table. I can't remember all my other amazing qualities, but I'm sure there's more. I'm kind of blacking out here. But anyways, I'm proud of what we've accomplished over the last 10 years, and we have a lot more to do, and I'd like to continue working to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. So I believe in Copper Peak, okay? I believe in a future at Copper Peak. So I volunteer out at Copper Peak, and I drive a bus for 10 hours, and I give 650 residents a ride back and forth to Copper Peak. And then I work with the board out there, and we compile lists of possible donors. So I always put my time and effort where I believe, if I believe something should happen, I work towards that, okay? So there was a point where I didn't like the way K-12 education was going. I thought that students were being belittled in this town. So I put myself, and I was elected, and I went on the intermediate school board. And I helped the intermediate school board with asset building change how children are viewed, and all of us work towards improving the lives of children in this community now. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize, but you all should, is that when you have elected representatives, they should be representing you in Washington, and they should be representing you in Lansing, okay? And one of the things I can do for the city of Ironwood, and I've done continuously, I wanted the Iron Belt Trail to succeed, so I went on the MDOT Trails Committee, okay? So I want money to come to this town, I want money to flow to this town, okay? So I've been a friend with the governor's offices of the last 4 governors. When Governor Whitmer was elected, I was the first person in line in Marquette. When Governor Granholm was elected, I was at her inauguration ceremony. Gary Peters, Debbie Stabenow, Tom Casperson, all good friends of mine. I walk into their office staff knows me, and I know them, and I say to them, okay, what are you going to do to help us with the city of Ironwood? And it took me 40 years to establish relationships like that, but I have those relationships. And I've been helping this town just like I've been helping the schools, just like I've been helping civic groups, so on and so forth. Thank you.
I gave it to you again.
Oh, yeah.
It's just out of
Oh, yeah.
I get the last word. Okay, it's a little bit past 9, but we made it. And thank you all for coming. Don't forget to go and vote. And as you get up, you can shake hands with the political folks here. Once again, thank you for coming. Very much appreciated. Have a good night.